So this is the commentary on Jubilees chapter 6. There's a lot to unpack in this chapter. In the footnote of my book here, this is the Lawrence version. It says here that Noah's covenant is completed and confirmed by the Mosaic one in the same month, and the reference is Exodus 19 verse 1. There's a footnote talking about proper use of blood and daily sacrifice. That's Numbers 28 verses 3 to 8. In regards to the Feast of Weeks, it is connected with Noah's covenant here only. Later, it is ascribed to Moses. The name Pentecost is not yet in use. Counting 50. 1 day equals the first day of the week. Pentecost was to be on a Sunday every year, according to this footnote at least. The 4 great days of the year have a religious significance here, but an astronomical one in 1st Enoch. So I don't agree with everything written here. I'm just reading the footnote. The solar year of 364 days equals 12 months of 30 days and 4 intercalary days. Epstein suggests that Jubilees uses 2 calendars, the second being a parallel ecclesiastical year, a multiple of 7, that is 13 months of 28 days. One of the great difficulties connected with the calendar of our author of Jubilees and of pre-Christian Judaism. So they're saying there are 2 calendars, and that's what I say as well. The lunar and the solar. It kind of makes sense. The impossible number 364 days, as in 1st Enoch, I believe that's chapter 74, verse 10, and other chapters, is probably due to dogmatic considerations to make the festivals fall on the same day of the week from year to year. Contrast with 2nd Enoch, and I don't consider 2nd Enoch to be canonical, shows that the same causes operated on the authors of the deluge story. The flood lasted 1 year in the Chaldean account. This was a lunar year of 354 days, but P makes it last 1 year and 10 days. Okay. I think that's it for that. So I'm just going to read through this on my, just looking at this from my own now, not with the commentary. So again, there's a lot to unpack here. This is one of the most controversial chapters in the book of Jubilees, and I understand why that is. So we can see here that there's another referring to the blood being shed. If man sheds his blood, or if a beast sheds the blood, then that blood will be required, whether it's man or beast. And then they talk about, as I alluded to in the previous commentary video in chapter 5, I spoke about these days of remembrance. There actually are memorialized in the book of Jubilees, and according to this book of Jubilees, it's Noah who memorialized them. And it connects this covenant of the eternal covenant of the rainbow being a sign of the covenant that God will no longer destroy the earth with a flood on a global scale, because there are still floods, just not on a global scale. And it is related to the Feast of Weeks, aka Shavuot, aka Pentecost. That's very interesting. And talks about how the new moon of the 1st month, 4th, 7th, and 10th are all days of remembrance, and various events occurred on these days. I'm not going to go over them again, but just read or listen to the narrative, their narrated video from between this verse 25 to verse 28, or I should say 27. So again, this is one of the most controversial chapters in Jubilees, and the reason that is because they're saying this is confirming the Enochian calendar, or at least making a new calendar, saying there are two different calendars, and that's why the reckoning of the years, the new moons, seasons, and Sabbaths, and holy days, the feast days, are all wrong. They're all messed up now because they're not following the Enochian calendar, or at least the Jubilee calendar. And I believe there are two calendars in terms of the feast days, which again are reckoned by the new moons, which is pretty not simple, but yeah, it is rather simple, but it is straightforward because you're looking for the sighted moon, the sighted crescent, the renewed moon, which indicates a new month has begun. And that determines the festivals. And then you have the barley being Aviv, being ready. That determines the new year. But then when you go astray from that and you create your own pre-calculated calendar, such as we have today, that exists in the form of the Hillel 2 calendar, then yeah, you will go astray from what God had ordained from his creation of the moon and the barley and so on, and different various signs. I believe Rivka Biederman goes into this in her own channel, Ancient Path New Moon. I believe that's her channel, but it's on YouTube. You can look that up. And she talks about 7 signs that also are evidence for the new year and changing of seasons. But yes, there are two calendars. There's the lunar calendar, which determines the feast days, but then there's also the solar calendar, which determines how long a year is. So yes, they have gone astray. We have gone astray in many ways in terms of determining the months, because again, they're using this Metonic Hillel 2 calendar, which determines the months. And when you go wrong with the months, and you go wrong with the feast days. And so when it says Sabbaths, some people keep the Sunday instead of the Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. And then when you go wrong with the months, you'll go wrong with the years. And that's why the Jubilees are off kilter as well. So that's why, yes, this order has been disturbed. But I believe they'll go back to this eventually when that time comes and the third temple is rebuilt or built, and the Sanhedrin is reinstituted, and they will no longer follow this pre-calculated Hillel 2 calendar. They'll go back to the sighted moon reckoning of the calendar, and then things will be made right again. But that's only the order of things. But it's important to get that corrected, to get that right. So that's all for this video of the commentary on Jubilees chapter 6. Stay tuned for Jubilees chapter 7.